Well, everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the Google Pixel 7a and compare it against the Samsung Galaxy S23 and see which specific phone is a better one for you. Now, I will definitely tell you that both these phones are very different. The Galaxy S23 has been out for a few months now, and these phones have already depreciated probably a couple $100s. The Pixel 7a is kind of like a brand new $500 phone, so they're both like in different price demographics, but let's go and see how both of these compare. If you want to pick up either one of these, the links will be down in the description. You can get that from there. You can help support the channel at the same time. Now, starting off side by side, the Galaxy S23 that came out literally just a few months ago on the front had a 6.1-inch dynamic AMOLED display. And it's a pretty good panel. I'm a fan of the way this panel looks. I think Samsung did a really good job with it. And although maybe it's not like the perfect panel, I would consider like the S23 Ultra having the perfect panel. This thing is still very good. It's 120 hertz. It's a very sharp panel, hole punch display, very little bezel around the whole entire panel as well. And I think Samsung did a really good job. It looks pretty much the same thing as the S22, let's be real, but it's still a very good panel, and I'm a big fan of this panel for sure. Now, with the Google Pixel 7a, this is a little bit of an interesting one. So it's 6.1 inches, so it's the same size technically as the Galaxy S23, although it is 1080p, the same thing as the S23. It's a 90 hertz panel, and it's not as good of a panel. It's an AMOLED, display, which is still good. The viewing angles are not as good, I would say, as the Galaxy S23s, but it's still a good panel, and for what you're paying, I think it's quite understandable. Like, this thing is not going to be the most expensive panel of all time, so that completely makes sense to me in my opinion. Again, hole punch display here, thicker bezel overall than the Galaxy S23, but still I think it looks pretty nice. It's not like an ugly looking phone by any means. Now, moving on to the rest of the body, the Galaxy S23 I think is a slimmer phone than the Pixel 7a, but that's not really saying much. Both of these phones are kind of a little bit more on the thicker side for their sizes, but that's not a bad thing at all. I think Google did a good job with both these devices, and Samsung did a good job with this one. They both have USB-C ports on the bottom, which is nice. SIM card tool here. The SIM card tray is right on the side of the Google Pixel 7a. And on the back, we have two different type of stylings. So on the back of the Pixel 7a, we do have this plastic back, which is interesting because it doesn't really feel crazy plasticky. Like, it does feel kind of different now that I kind of have been feeling it. But if you told me this was glass, I don't know. Okay, like when I tap it, it definitely doesn't feel like glass. But when I like feel it like this, it kind of does. It's kind of weird. The Galaxy S23, on the other hand, has this frosted glass back. And that's something that I like a lot about the Galaxy S23, that you can just go ahead and basically have this type of feeling to it, and it feels very nice. Like, I love the way the Galaxy S23 feels with this frosted glass back. The Google Pixel 7a, on the other hand, feels good. It feels more like a standard glass back, though definitely not a frosted one. You have a dual camera setup up here, triple camera setup up here. You have wireless charging on both. You have reverse wireless charging on the Galaxy S23, which is really nice. IP certification on both as well. And overall, on the outside, I think both phones are very, very similar in a lot of ways. But I also think that the Galaxy S23 is probably the one that's way more like a flagship than the Google Pixel 7a, if I'm being honest. So in terms of that kind of covers it up there. Now, in terms of software and longevity, this is going to be kind of an interesting, comparison here. There's a chance the Galaxy S23 and the Pixel 7a will probably last around the same time. I think between these two, I mean, if you think about it, like a 2019 Pixel 4 just got discontinued. The Galaxy S10 kind of got discontinued recently too. So it's tough to say which one of these is going to be like the reason why somebody would pick up a Pixel nowadays wouldn't be because these phones last longer, in my opinion. I think Samsung's improved there, and they may end up even, bring even more improvements there. I think software also, some people may not even like stock Android as much anymore, considering that, One UI has so many more features built in over stock Android. So it really just depends now. Do you like a Pixel because of its features, or do you like the Galaxy S23 because of its features? That's kind of where we're at now, which is kind of crazy because before stock Android was the rave. Now it's kind of like, okay, well, like One UI has a lot more features. So I guess we'll see what happens there. Let's go and do a speed comparison now, though. The Pixel 7a has that Google Tensor G2 chipset inside of it with 8 gigabytes of RAM, where the Galaxy S23 has that Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chipset inside with 8 gigs of RAM as well. So let's go and see which one's the faster one between both. Okay, there we go. All the apps are cleared out in the background except for this one, so let's get into it. Phone calls, 3, 2, 1. S23 is faster. Messages, 3, 2, 1. Kind of the same thing. Camera, 3, 2, 1. Okay, This one is on a night mode photo, so we'll just kind of skip this one. Let's go get out of here. Play Store 3, 2, 1. Very fast on both. Potentially the Pixel 7a was faster, but I did load into it earlier on that phone, so maybe that's why. Scrolling through, I can definitely tell the difference between 90 hertz and 120 hertz, but dude, this is still very close. The difference between 90 hertz and 120 hertz is not as big of a difference as 60 hertz to 90 hertz in my opinion. We do have some of these third-party apps. We can do Twitter, 3, 2, 1. So many different things have just happened, so I don't even know what to call that one. Snapchat, 3, 2, 1. Perfect. Quizlet, 3, 2, 1. Okay, S23 is faster. Now, for some of these games, I have to load up Game Launcher, which is very annoying. So we'll just have to like go into here and then load up the games this way. Temple Run 2, 3, 2, 1. And it looks like the Pixel 6a was faster there, surprisingly. But we did have that downloading thing that came up on the Galaxy S23, so you can't really plan for that. It's just kind of how these things happen. Hopping out of this one, let's go and try another one. Let's go and get it back into Game Launcher. Let's try let's do Genshin Impact, 3, 2, 1. Now for a lot of these apps, they may have already been open on the Pixel 7a, although I closed out of them. So if there's a massive difference, I guess it's not really that big of a difference here, so can't really call it that. But I will say you're probably going to be getting better performance overall on the Galaxy S23 than on the Google Pixel 7a. Although this one is fairly close when it came down to it. Hopping out of this one, let's go back into Game Launcher, very annoying. Let's do Snake versus Blocks, 3, 2, 1. And the Galaxy S23 is the faster one. Hopping out of this one, let's go and do one more game. We can try something like Subway Surfers, 3, 2, 1. I'm hoping there's no updates or crazy things that pop up. But for the most part, I would say the S23 is probably going to be the faster phone in a majority of ways. And that's something that's really cool. The S23 was a very good phone. I like this phone a lot. And I do think it's a faster phone than the Google Pixel 7a. And, but I think the 7a is still very good for the price as well. So that kind of covers it up there. Now in the camera department, as I mentioned, both phones are very good. I feel like Pixels have their own strong suit, and the same thing with the Galaxies. But you are getting an additional telephoto lens here on that triple camera setup on the S23, whereas you're only getting a dual camera setup on the Pixel 7a, which is still fine. You can do 4K 60 on the back of both of them, but you can do 8K video on the S23, which is amazing. You can also do 4K at 60 on the front of the S23. The 7a can only do 4K at 30. Now, I think with the Galaxy S23's camera, very solid camera. I like this camera a lot. It's probably one of the better cameras of this year. Although, again, not a massive difference from the S22. I think it's still a very good camera, 0.6x zoom. You're getting 30x zoom inside, which is insane. A lot of it digital, but it's still crazy. You're getting portrait mode, you're getting video mode, portrait video, more mode, which is cool. This is a lot of good stuff here, and this is something that I really do like about this type of device. It has that much type of capability and 8K video as well. I mean, this is an insane phone that I love a lot. The Pixel 7a, I think this is a very solid phone too. I mean, this one has a good camera for its price, but I don't know if it's not really better in any way than the Galaxy S23. You're not really getting like crazy more features built in here. You're getting portrait video, or portrait mode, long exposure, night sight, you're getting video mode. I don't even know what just happened to this phone. But it's not really like the craziest, best phone of all time in terms of the camera. But I think it's a good camera when it comes down to it. So I have no idea what just happened to the Pixel 7a. I guess I'm going to have to restart it. But the question is the Pixel 7a that much better of a phone than the Galaxy S23? And to that, I would say, I don't know. I think the Pixel 7a is a good phone. I like this phone, for its price and everything. But I don't know if it's necessarily the best one for its price tag. Like, I don't know if this would be the phone that I would recommend buying because of, its price being so similar to like a used S23. I think a Galaxy S23 is a crazy good flagship phone. I think this one has a ton of features built in, and this is the one I would recommend a majority of people to buy. But the choice is yours. I think the 7a is a good phone for its price, but if you can pick up a used S23, I'd probably recommend doing that more than buying a brand new Pixel 7a. So that kind of covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.